26% of Gen Z respondents brought parents to job interview survey. This is by News Nation. Now, I saw this. I heard about this on the PBD podcast. I was like, okay, I have some questions. Like, did they go in the interview with them? Did they just drop them off at the interview? Does that count? So I'm perplexed about this. So according to resume templates surveyed, just 1,400 US-based Gen Zers, so just a small sample size, right? Majority of on-camera parents spoke directly to hiring managers. Okay, wow, that answers that question. It does not signal confidence to a hiring company resume build. Yeah, I believe that. Imagine you're in an interview and this kid brought his parents, like, dude, can you work independently? Now, this just brought a thought. What about the parents who raise these kids? Right? These Gen Zers are being coddled. And who raised Gen Z? Most of it's Gen X. So they have some blame. So before you start making fun of Gen Z, you gotta look at Gen X too. The people who raised them. People going on the interviews with them. Like, what makes you think that was a good idea? You should teach your kid how to do an interview, how to do it by himself. Now, granted, that's only 26%. So that means there's 74% of Gen Zers who don't bring their parents. Who knows what's up? Their Gen X parents probably taught them better. There's a video here, but I'll watch it later. Let me look at some stuff. So, involved in their parents' interview process, 31% of those respondents had a parent accompany them to an in-person interview, and 29% of them joined a virtual interview. Wow. So out of the 26%, almost a third were involved in the process. And almost another third took part of the virtual. So that's crazy. So I think that 2/3 probably just, I don't know, dropped them off or maybe behind the camera if it was a virtual interview, right? For those that said they had a parent come with them to an in-person interview, 37% of respondents said they had their mom or dad come into the office, and 26% of the respondents said one of their parents physically sat in the room while the interview took place. Like, is it like an intimidation tactic? Like, I'm not by myself, I'm here with my parents. They know what's up. Who's parents gonna be like, my son can do that, my daughter can definitely do that. Oh, they can do that. They can absolutely do that. And if you have an issue with them, you contact me. This is hard for me to believe. Like, me as a millennial, my kids are going to be what? Gen Alpha? That's what it is, right? There's just no way I'm going to be like, oh, yeah, I'll go on the interview with you. I'm like, no, you're on your own. Figure it out. You're going to learn today. For those that said they had a parent near them during a virtual interview, 71% said their parent was off camera, while 29% said their parent was visible on camera. I kind of, the 71% was off camera, I kind of get it. Like, they're trying to, like, I'm sure there was like some nonverbal communication, hand gestures, nodding, shaking their heads, right, during an interview. So I get it. Maybe they wrote some stuff down and said, answer this. I'll let that one slide. But I still think if you're in an interview, you need to go at it on your own. You can't bring your parents. And they shouldn't be on the side kind of cheering you on. This is like you're on your own type of thing. Now, after an interview, you should debrief with your parents, especially if you're young. Like, okay, this is how the interview went. They asked this question, Dad, and I answered it like this. What do you think? Okay, maybe next interview I answer it like that. Sure, okay, that's how it should be. The majority of on-camera parents spoke directly to hiring manager, according to the survey. Can you imagine, like, you're trying to interview this person and their parents start talking? I'd be like, okay, I need to cut this interview short. It's just like, okay, well, that's all the questions I have. Thank you very much for your time. And just go, no, not hiring that person. Okay, legit question for people watching this. If you conducted an interview, if you have, I want to know if this actually happened to someone. If you have interviewed someone, they had their parent with them, did you hire that person? I really, really want to know. It's understandable, parents wanting to ensure that their child does well in an interview or that an employer is reputable. Conversely, it's hard to see where a parent being directly involved in an interview is appropriate. Executive resume writer Andrew Stoner told Resume Templates, "It does not signal confidence to a hiring company on behalf of a child. I recommend a help at a distance approach of being available and advising the child during the recruiting process." You know what, in a way, I want to blame the parents more, because your kid just turned into an adult. I mean, you probably have an interview at 16, 17. They're probably not an adult yet. So it's like, okay, that's probably not the best approach. I don't believe so. I mean, I'm not a parent yet. I don't have a teenager yet. Not that I know of, right? But, I went on interviews by myself, and I thought, if I were to think, should I have brought my parents in? No. There's just no way. That would not help me at all. If anything, it would hurt me. And I get it if an employer was like, oh, hell no. There's a video up here. This one's called Gen Z Redefining What Employers Should Expect. Let's see what this is about. Oh, it's on mute.
The hour as more people retire, a new generation of workers are hitting the office. Gen Z workers will soon make up more than a quarter of the workforce, a number that is only growing. Gen Zers have different philosophies when it comes to working, and that's bothering other generations.
I want to read some of these. Gen Z is struggling to work with boomers. Honestly, this headline could go with all generations, right? What was the generation before boomers? Silent generation, I think, maybe. So you could say there was a time where millennials struggled to work with silent generation, and Gen X had a hard time working with, the generation before them, right? So you can't just pin this on Gen Z. Gen Z really are the hardest to work with. Even managers of their own generation say they're difficult. Instead, bosses plan to hire more of the millennial counterparts. People have to start somewhere. So if you're going to be behind those millennials, they've been in the working market for a while now. So they better be paid well. Unfortunately, not a lot are, but hopefully they do pay them well. Gen Z can be really annoying to work with. You can say that with any generation. I can say that now to boomers I work with. So whatever. Connection issues as Gen Z named the most difficult workers. Again, I could say boomers are the most difficult workers too. Always constantly bugging me how to convert a PDF. How do you export an Excel file? I'm like, how are you making 3 times more than me? I know more than you. Why? Because you make decisions? I can make decisions too because you're out of it most of the time. Gen Z careers, the worst to manage. 45% of hiring managers say. You know what? I expect that number to go lower as time goes by. And especially when Gen Alpha comes into the workforce. So, Gen Z, you're taking punches right now, but it's also an opportunity to stick out. Know how to use computer skills, because apparently a lot of you don't have computer skills. I just noticed this. And it makes sense because you guys are growing up with tablets and cell phones, while millennials like me, we grew up with computers. And jobs require you to know computer skills. They don't care about cell phone skills right now, or tablet skills. They want you to know how to use a computer. Do you know Excel? Like, for us, yes, we do.
Who can't seem to get behind their new ways and wants News Nation's Alicia Nieves. Well, she's been examining this generational divide. I told you off camera, I'm so interested in this story. What's going on here, Alicia?
You kind of alluded to this, right? Not everyone from prior generations are loving the changes that Gen Z is trying to make in the workforce, but experts say actually every generation brings their own wave of changes to the workforce, and Gen Z in that regard, not really different. To be clear, though,
Gen Z is going to bring woke culture. Yeah, there's millennials who did too. I digress. Sorry about that.
Gen Z, those are people born between the 1990s into the early 2000s. Now they're replacing Generation X and baby boomer employees.
Okay, baby boomers. So the youngest, 1964, the youngest baby boomer is 60 years old. So yeah, they're still out there. Oh gosh, that's grandpa's age. Yeah, I can see they see this 16-year-old, 18-year-old. Of course, they can never relate. Old people can never relate to younger generations, ever. Of course, they're going to complain. But, okay, yeah, I'm a millennial. I'm kind of closer to I'm on the 80s side. Oof.
Oldest Gen Z is less than 30 years old, and many of them are entrepreneurial, right? Diversified, they're technologically savvy, more so than prior generations. In terms of changes, though, that they're bringing to the workforce, it simply boils down to Gen Z doesn't want to live to work. Instead, they want to work to live, unlike older.
What's wrong with that? Yeah, they want to work to live, and I get it. I'm a millennial. I want to work to live, too. I don't want to dedicate 8+ hours each day, 5 days a week to an employer who could potentially fire me tomorrow. as if I was nothing, just another number. Just don't even care about me, right? What's the point? What I have this tough time with this employer-employee loyalty. You're just there to fulfill a job. That's it. We don't need to expand the relationship. We don't have to have these pizza parties or anything. Just pay me what I deserve. Because what the job description is, I read it, and how much you're willing to pay, probably negotiated what you should negotiate to pay. If you both come to an agreement, boom, there you go. Don't have to worry about anything else. Just, this is what I come in here to do. Don't ask me to work over beyond my 8 hours a day. Otherwise, I should be charging more.
Unlike older generations, right? Gen Z wants greater flexibility of working hours that's more aligned with kind of their personal lives. They also are big on actionable commitment to civic and charitable work, competitive pay, and benefit packages. Media coach and communications expert Barbara Barner-Abel.
But honestly, all of these bullet points, I see nothing wrong with it. That is, of course, if you're the business, if you can fulfill that, sure. Many corporations can, but they don't want to, right? Because for a corporation, I have a business owner, it's all about maximizing profits. Maximize profits. Mental health resources, that interferes with us making money. If we can make an extra $1,000 a day, yeah, screw this benefit. We don't need it. I need to be making more money. Job stability and financial security, well, I'll find someone who doesn't require that. Office perks, that costs me money. Forget it. The business owner, that costs him money to get office perks. Why? I don't need it. It's all about making money. So there's both ends to consider.
Expert Barbara Barner-Abel actually told us that she believes the younger generation is asking for these different benefits and why.
You look at the shows they grew up with, the different curriculum, a world that was both more divisive and more inclusive. Gen Z grew up very conscious around bullying. Gen Z grew up with parents mostly parents working, a lot of stress.
Those parents are Gen X, by the way.
And I think that they're looking at the world in a very different way.
Yeah, Barbara has a lighter light on this, right? She adds that it doesn't necessarily make them more difficult to work with. It reminds.
They grew up with different television shows, like, of course, right? They freaking grew up with SpongeBob. Like, what'd you expect?
Other generations of the changes they brought into the workplace as they were starting to enter the field.
Alicia, you're a millennial.
Yes.
I'm a Gen Xer. We work with a lot of Gen Z people.
Yes.
We love our Gen Z people, but any tips on how
We love our Gen Z people. They know how to make coffee. They're wonderful little baristas.
to work alongside them?
Important to have tips here, right? Because the reality is everyone is going to have to get used to working with Gen Z and future generations after them. That's Gen Alpha. We'll talk about that in a moment. Experts have the best way for managing and working with Gen Z employees is to encourage that work-life balance. Don't fight it. Lead by example. Give feedback in a supportive, key here, supportive environment, and then focus on the individual, what motivates them, and have clear expectations of what you want from them. Barbara Barner-Abel actually added in our conversation that they aren't just looking for better pay, but another thing that is really key to them is they want companies to do what they say and kind of mean what they say when it comes to those mission statements and value statements. So whether it's liked or disliked, the labor numbers and job opening numbers show that we need this labor force. So companies are just going to have to kind of meet the changes here and what appeals to Gen Z workers if they're really hoping to attract and retain these workers.
That's a good point. Gen Z is coming up and companies do have to compete for them. However, it depends on what the jobs are, because a lot of these kids are going to college with BS degrees, right? And these companies are like, we'll still hire you, whatever. But it's oversaturated. And because of that, they can be like, well, this person's willing to work for $25 an hour, but this guy is willing to work for $24 an hour. However, this person is willing to work for $23 an hour. So it depends on the career field too. I want to go back to those bullets. If Gen Z truly has power to make this change, personally, I encourage it. These are reasonable. These are great. These would be wonderful to have. Why wouldn't you want this? Of course, a lot of companies, like I was saying, they want to maximize profits. These threaten it. right? These absolutely threaten it. Encourage innovation and a work-life balance. A lot of companies scoff at that. A lot of companies scoff at that. Boomers scoff at that. Gen X scoffs at that. But dude, again, my life isn't about working hard for you. I always tell people, especially younger generation Gen Z, work hard for yourself. When you hear the term, oh, you got to work hard, it's a little vague, it's broad. You have to work hard for yourself, not for them. And of course, thinking smarter too plays in that too. Mental health focus, yeah, of course. Why not? Working crazy hours for a company for freaking peanuts that doesn't pay your bills, that's going to affect your mental health. Career progression, oh man, don't get me started. So many companies will carrot stick you. And what I mean by carrot stick is like, oh, there's a promotion ahead. But you don't see that promotion ever. Or they promote someone else, or they hired someone else. Like, dude, I was here the entire time. Why didn't you hire me? That's when you need to go to another employer. Quit that job, go somewhere else where you're more of a value. Again, keep in mind, you're still just a number to most of these corporations. Don't think they have your best interests at all. Those companies are thinking what's best for them, not for you. They don't care. It's an illusion when they say we're family, this and that, benefits. No, just proceed with caution with these companies. Personalized approach with a supportive environment. You know, there's nothing wrong with positive reinforcement. Was Fox News going to promote toxic work environments or something? No. Who wants to go to a toxic work environment job? There's so many of them still, right? You want to go somewhere that's at least comfortable to work for, you're dedicating so much of your time for. Lead by example, that's across every generation. I mean, how else are you going to develop future leaders? I know there's a lot of future leaders, or current leaders rather, they'd rather just do something and not teach you, and then make you feel bad for not knowing. That's why a lot of jobs, they want you to come in already knowing the job. That's why a lot of companies don't train anymore. Because they train someone and they leave real soon. They just wasted all that money training someone, right? So instead of training someone how to use Excel, they just want to hire someone who already knows these skills. You know how to use Excel? Good. And you better know how to use it. Or you better be really good at Googling, how do I do this on Excel? Before they figure out you don't know how to use Excel. I don't encourage lying, but sometimes fake it until you make it does work. I don't know. I don't think I faked it. I think there has been times where I might have bit more than I can chew. Like I thought I knew how to use word processor until they asked me to do all these columns and real intricate things. I'm like, oh goodness, I have to Google it real fast and then I figure it out. Clear expectations and communications, that's across the board too. Doesn't matter what generation. Thing is, like, these are my expectations for this company. Can you meet them? Yes, and you better present that. Flexibility, that's the big one though. That's the big difference. That's why companies are like, forget your flexibility. You're flexible around us. We're not flexible around you. But Gen Z, if you could just push that these companies should be more flexible around you, you have to meet them halfway though. You have to give them the production that at least makes the company profitable. Otherwise, the company is going to fail and you're out of a job. You can't let the company fail. The company has to be successful though. How can you keep the company successful for your employer while you can still be flexible? Well, I think that's about it for now. That was a lot. I thought this video was going to be shorter, but anyway. If you agree, disagree, please comment below. Please hit the like button. If you made it this far, I recommend hitting that subscribe button. Please hit that. It'd be cool. Other than that, until next time, take care. Bye.